There we go. I think we are live everywhere. And I'm coming on to you from Alabama tonight. So I did a little switch around a little bit from Maryland to Alabama, but that is okay. Thanks for joining. And tonight we're talking about, well, a career change really make me happy. And that's why we're here today. So I'm on several different platforms. So welcome everybody. Those of you on Instagram, and I have a couple of different cameras. Those of you on Facebook and YouTube. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Those of you catching this on LinkedIn, welcome as well. This is such an important question to ask, right? We know that with the great resignation going on and the great migration going on, people are moving and changing jobs. But I know there's a subset of people that's going like, why move if it's not going to make me happy? Or I've moved a job before, I've moved two jobs, maybe even three jobs, and I'm still not happy. So what's the big deal with doing a career change or getting another job or getting another position? What is the big deal? So let's talk about that question tonight. Will a career change actually make me happy? I want to talk about 5 reasons that will let you know whether or not a career change is going to make you happy. Really, these are some symptoms of things to look for, right? So if you have questions or if you have comments, you are more than welcome to share those. I will keep track of my comments so I can see and respond to those. And for those of you that are in my Facebook group, Courage to Transition Your Career, you can make comments. I will not know what your name is unless you tell me. And if you haven't already joined my free Facebook group, you can do that. It's Courage to Transition Your Career, right? And so, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Twanna Carter, Dr. Twanna Carter, career and transition coach for women. I help high achieving professional women overcome that anxiety and fear and doubt that could come with transitioning to a new career. And I do that by instilling a deep sense of belief in their own unique skills, right? And as well as helping them to recognize and communicate their unique value so that they can confidently and courageously pursue, create success on their own terms and pursue a path of purpose that is meaningful to them, right? And so, without further ado, some of the things for you to look at, right? And to decide, like, should I make a career change? Will it really make me happy? Okay. So number one is look at how you feel. If your first work day of the week is Monday, take a look how you feel on Sunday night. If you don't get headaches until you're getting ready to go to work, if you're anxious, if you're nauseous, if you just get sick when you think about going to work, and maybe it's not the Sunday night before if you start work on a Tuesday, maybe it's not the Monday night before, but what do you feel like when you get to work? Is there this sense of dread hanging over your head? That's a symptom. That's your body telling you something's not right, something's not going right. And we need to listen to our bodies because your body wouldn't be going through all that for nothing, right? And sometimes it is the job. I know that I had a job that I would be like this until I got home and I couldn't relax, until late Friday night or on into Saturday. I could finally relax. Those are all the symptoms telling you that the job is making you extremely anxious, whether it's the job or people on the job or what you're doing. And those are all different things. You could have all of those, obviously, but it's teasing that out. Really, I did an article a couple weeks ago. Like, is your job stressing you out, or is your career stressing you out? Because sometimes it's the job, and you may just need another position. Sometimes it's the whole darn career. A lot of people in the medical field right now are very stressed, right? With everything that's going on, and they're kind of reaching that point where they are sick or they have this like dread hanging over their heads and they're not happy anymore. That's a sign. If that's going on, that is a sign that tells you, in all likelihood, if you did a career change, you would be happier because right now you're not happy. All of those signs are saying you're not happy, right? So that's number one, right? Anybody else, anybody out there have felt that before at a job and felt like, yeah, I gotta go. I can't do this anymore. I'm gonna raise my hand on that one because I've done that. I've done it with the dread and the churning of my stomach and just kind of getting nauseated. And what's going on is you're having a fight or flight reaction, right? When the body gets into fight or flight, especially with the headache, with the nausea, the diarrhea, and so Sylvie says yes. Sylvie Nina says yes, me. Yes. When the body is in fight or flight, you know, your body's preparing to either fight or run. So you don't need to digest your food. So your digestive system kind of goes on hiatus, and that's why you can get sick. You feel nauseous. Some folks can't eat. Others eat too much. They eat, and they're just never full. And then other people get diarrhea. That's a sign that your body is stressed. It's in fight or flight. Okay, so that's number one. Number two, another reason is if you go into that job and you look around and you're bored stiff, absolutely bored. Nothing about the job excites you. You're simply bored. The tasks just they're not exciting. Just make you bored. You're going in to get the paycheck, but that's about it. You're just bored, right? And that's a sign that should, if you decide to do a career change, you will probably be happier somewhere else, because you're not doing something that catches your interest. And you can only work for so long getting the paycheck. Now, don't get me wrong, paycheck is important. The mortgage has to be paid, gas, water, light, groceries. Gotta buy dog food for the dogs, food for the kitties. Yes, that check is important, but are you bored stiff? Humans have these, hey, we have these 8 basic needs. One of those is variety, to feel like we're excited, we're doing something that just captures our attention. Who wants to go to work and be there for 8 to 10 hours a day? Bored. So that's number two, right? The first one is if you're recognizing those symptoms, you're sick, you're nauseated, you get headaches, or you just feel ill, or you start to get anxious, and some people cry. It can get pretty bad. Number two is you're just bored. Okay. Number three, if you know that there's just no chance on this side of Hades for you to go any further than what you're doing at this moment, just nowhere to go. There's just nothing. you know you keep getting the storyline, well, maybe it'll get better, or we just have nowhere to go. I've been in a job where I signed up for the job thinking there was a place I can move up and progress, and I got there in the job about a year or so, and it's like, oh no, that's it. And even worse, you're at the only level you'll ever be at. There are no raises, there's nothing. You're just there in that job. All right. After a while of being in a position like that, if you're not already bored, you will be bored. But also, it can get you can become resentful as you look at your family and friends and people around you progressing, and you're just stuck in the same place year after year, knowing I can't go any further. And it's worse if you're in a job in a particular organization, and your job, you can't progress and bounce to something else in the agency because you're kind of pigeonholed where you are. That's a sign that you probably would be happier somewhere else, right? And so the fourth one is pretty serious, and I've actually seen this in people. If you are all of a sudden, or not all of a sudden, things have gotten progressively worse. Maybe you've diagnosed with hypertension, you've been diagnosed with diabetes, maybe your arthritis now, or it's gotten worse. People have cancer. If you are physically collecting ailments, right, like collecting candy, you're starting to get all these ailments, and you're going to your doctor, and your doctor steady telling you you're stressed. Well, stress will exhibit itself physically on the body. That is how it happens. And I've seen it. I've seen people leave jobs darn near on stretchers because they're like, I'm going to stay here, I'm going to stay here, I'm going to stay here, I'm going to stay here. They leave darn near on stretchers when it's almost too late. If your job is making you ill, yes, it would be a good thing for you to move and go somewhere else because yes, that job, another job will make you happier. Okay. And so the other one that can happen is if you're being managed out. Yeah. Um, it's I'm always amazed when I work with clients who are being managed out, right? And for those of you who don't know, managed out means that, you're sometimes it's just your manager, and sometimes it's your manager along with HR have decided they really don't want you to work for them anymore. And rather than firing you or saying you'll let go, they start to do things to push you to the point where you just quit, like, I'm not doing this anymore, right? Sometimes it can happen so subtly that people don't know. They don't know they're being managed out. I've had, different clients that come in, and one comes into mind. She came in to see me for anxiety coaching because I do anxiety coaching. Sometimes a job causes the anxiety. Sometimes people already have anxiety and they find that it's affecting their ability to do their job. So, that's why I do anxiety coaching. So she comes to me for anxiety coaching, and it was a supervisor that she was having some problems with. I need to, figure out how to get along with my supervisor. But in this process, I'm so anxious, it's starting to affect my work. So when I work with people, especially if a supervisor or coworker is causing anxiety, I kind of want to get to know who this person is, and I build strategies for helping manage anxiety with this. So she sent me some documentation a couple of days before her appointment, and my mouth almost hit the floor. I was like, holy God, it's like, holy smokes. She got in, I looked at her and said, you do realize you're being managed out, right? And she just looked at me like, what? No, I'm anxious. I said, no, you're being managed out of your job. You, you're being managed out. The documentation that she had given me had showed that for about 9 months, her supervisor had been writing her up and writing down things. And she just thought they couldn't get along and she was anxious. And that's what she was worried about. I was like, no, you're being managed out of your job. And we literally had about 60 days to work with her. I had about 60 days to work with her because now we were going to manage anxiety, but then we went into full save the job mode, right? She had no idea. She just knew she was anxious, and she knew was, she didn't quite see eye to eye with the manager. She had no idea she was being managed out, right? And so when you do know you're being managed out, it's a depends. In her case, she wanted to save the job, and so I did. I had someone else come in, similar situation, new boss. We're not seeing eye to eye. I'm just anxious about it, and I need some help with managing the relationship with my supervisor as well as managing my anxiety. And I came in, we sat down, we go through the whole process, and I was like, yeah, you're being managed out. And in this case, she couldn't do anything right. She was fine before the new boss came in, and things were great. And about 3, 4 months in, she couldn't do anything right. Everything was fine, but nothing was right. Just everything is no, it's wrong. And it was like, well, what do you want me to do? This is just not wrong. Wouldn't give her any pointers. It's like, yeah, you're being managed out. So with both of those cases, they were both suffering from anxiety, which kind of goes back to my number one. If you're suffering a lot of anxiety on the job, not that everyone who has anxiety on the job is being managed out, but it may be part of that, right? And so with both ladies, I did something different. The second one, it was we'd gone down the path. It was we didn't save the job. Found her another job, right? So she was much happier in the job, and I mean, it was wonderful. Called back and checked up on her, and she was so excited to be going into a job that she enjoyed. Anxiety gone, right? And then she felt like she was valuable to the workplace. Those are some of the things that happen when you're working in the correct position, in the correct job. The first client that was being managed out, I had to train her. We got there, we coached her how to rebut when, she was told she was doing something wrong, how to ask which way it should be. We did research, we did everything. I taught her how to do the documentation. We had to do all that stuff in coaching, right? And, long story long story short, she did save her job, and she moved to another job in the same organization. And just as a note, a year later, she was awarded employee of the year. So sometimes it works. Sometimes when you're being managed out, you can save the job, right? You don't always have to go find another job. Sometimes you can save the job. It depends on how far along down the road you are. And with that first client where her boss had been, documenting for about 8 or 9 months on her, like I said, we had 60 days. She was at her last, we're going to write you up and get rid of you. And, that's what we worked on in coaching, was to coach her how to rebut that and track what she was doing and, provide the value. And so it works. But sometimes if you're being managed out, it's a choice. Do you need to save the job? Do you want to? Sometimes it is so contentious. The best thing for you to do is start looking for something else, right? It just gets that way. It just depends on where you are. And so, again, these things all point to that if these are happening, then it is possible for you to be happy in another job. As a career transition coach, all the ladies I coach, they don't move their jobs. They don't get another job because sometimes it isn't necessary. As you heard me talk about the lady, the first lady who was being managed out, it wasn't necessary for her to leave the company. She was able to save the job, move, to another section, and did well enough to be awarded Employee of the Year. That's pretty darn good. All right. And so some people feel like it's just a crapshoot. Why bother? If your physical health is in jeopardy, it's worth you finding something else to do all day long and twice on Sunday, right? Because if you are anxious to the point where you're nauseated and you're sick, and you're dreading to go into work, that's extra stress on your body. And yes, it can show up in diabetes and hypertension and cancer and lupus, and I've had clients who have different physical disabilities, and they get worse when you're stressed. That job is not worth your health. It really isn't. And I've spoken to people who said, I should have left long ago before I got sick. That's the thing about it. If you're sick now, yes, you will be happier at a job that fits you, right? And there are career coaches out there and career transition coaches out there. That's our job, to coach you to find something better where you're not physically ill. you know and I'll give an honorary mention here. Oftentimes it comes down to finance. People don't want to lose their financial stability by getting another job, but you don't have to. I put a post up. Changing jobs is not a sprint. Career transition isn't a sprint. It is a marathon. You take it in phases. You don't have to make less, right? And I'll be the first to say I do this because my first career transition I took less anxiety, social anxiety, low self-esteem, lack of self-confidence. I took the first thing out there. I was like, oh my God, these people like me. I'll just take this job. And it was a horrible mistake because it was making half of the money. But I will tell you that done right, you don't have to do that. If you get the right guidance and the right coaching, you don't have to lose financial stability, and you will be so much happier in a position that fits you and in an environment, because it's not only about the job, it's about the environment. The two go hand in hand. And that's what I coach my ladies to do. I don't just coach them to get another job. I coach them to figure out what environment suits you, and that's the environment that you pursue a job in, because we don't all fit everywhere. It doesn't make sense to be a round hole trying to fit yourself in a square peg. Just find a square peg and join. Your peeps will be there and you will be much happier. Yeah, your peeps will be there. Okay. So do I have any comments out there? How many of you have actually switched a job because you realized you were one of these three things? Either you were anxious, you were bored, you realized you couldn't go any further, you weren't going to get any more money, you were actually ill, physically ill, right? Or you figured out you were being managed out. That managed out it can be tough, right? And sometimes it can be subtle, because I get folks that come in and don't know they're being managed out. And we sit down and we look at the documentation. It's like, yeah, you're being managed out. You do have rights, of course. Of course, I don't give legal advice here, but I will say that in some countries, I know I did some research in the UK, and if you're being managed out and you think it's because you're a protected class, like is because of your age, because of your sexual orientation, or because of your religion, because of disability, those things, or because of your gender, yeah, those things, you're a protected class and you do have recourses. So if you do feel like you're being managed out and you're in one of those protected classes, and that's the reason why I do, suggest that you see an attorney, someone who deals with this. You can come to a career coach, right, to find the other job, but we don't do the legal part of that. You need to get someone who is steeped in this and well versed in it. Okay. And so I'm going to check one more time to see if I have any questions that have popped up, because I know I hopped off before I looked at all the questions, and I always come back and answer the questions. So those of you who catch the replay, drop hashtag replay, leave your questions as well, because I always come back and ask or answer your questions. So I am taking a peek around here to see if I do have any questions, because I don't want to leave one question unanswered, right? So I see some folks on LinkedIn. Do you have any questions out there? It's a great time to ask questions. And let me go over and check Facebook. I have, like, I think I'm on 4 platforms tonight. So give me a minute to check all the platforms to be sure I haven't missed any questions. So if you do feel that, you know, you have hit like at least one of these, at least one of the five, or if you're hitting more than five, but you don't know where to start. And that's what people, when they come to me, they're like, I don't know what to do. I don't know where to start. No, I'm not happy with what I'm doing, but I don't know where to start. I don't know where to go. That's the whole point of seeing a career coach or a career transition coach, right? I do have free consults. We can sit down and chit chat, set up a 15-minute consult. Doesn't cost you a thing. The link is on the frame. You can see it there, and I'll pop it in while we're here, so I don't have any questions on Facebook. All righty. And let me grab that link for you. But yes, you can set up a free consult and really sit down and talk about, we'll talk about what is going on. I have a 3-step process that I use, right? And it depends on where you are in your career as to which program is best. But it all starts off with a free consult just to figure out where you are and how to get started. Because once you get over the hump, you know, that's what's important, right? And I have people that will do the program, and sometimes they find jobs within 3 or 4 months. I have other folks that come through my program, and then 2 months after they finish, they call me back and say, "Hey, I resigned, and I'm interviewing for the director of this." So, it's not a sprint. Career transition is a marathon, and you can take your time and plan it and set it up so that career transition doesn't cause you any additional anxiety than what you're already experiencing, right? It is definitely possible. I've done 11 career transitions. My thing was a little different. One of my work values is variety. I like to do different things. And so once I figured out that I was just leaving a job every 2 to 5 years because, well, I was bored with the last job, I had to figure out how to do career transitions because I like to change and do different things. So I actually run 2 different companies now. I transitioned from working for others, and I actually do career transition coaching, and I'm also a licensed therapist. And it gets me the variety that I need working with different clients and doing this stuff. I really love this type of thing. Okay. So I don't see any questions or comments, don't see anything on YouTube. And I was trying to find a link because I got busy talking, and I'm a whole different setup here because I'm at my home in Alabama. So I don't get to come very often because COVID. So that's where I am today. Let me know where you're hopping off from. That would be nice. So I am going to sign off here. And again, if you do have some questions, just drop them in the comments and I get those answered for you.